Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. I have a question. Are you somebody who is worried about how our food is going? There's too many preservatives, there's too many pills, there's too much scientific bio-generated stuff. Well, today we are going to talk about natural herbs and botany and how we can help with natural things to do what we're given pills to do all the time. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. So my name is Charisse Walker, your host, and today I have Jane Barlow Christensen in the room. And without further ado, Jane, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Charisse. Okay, so I am a baby boomer who grew up with a dad who was a botanist, and I'm second oldest of 14 kids, 3 of which adopted and full-blooded Native Americans. And I have 2 grown kids. I have 2 grandkids. I had a first career in fitness, and now I run my dad's legacy and have for a couple decades, and I will probably never retire. I love what I do, and I think the world is waking up. Mm-hmm. From my perspective. Especially the last 5 years, I've watched a huge shift in what people want as far as taking care of our human biology, and what we're starting to realize how disconnected we are from the gifts of Mother Nature. So I love what I do. Love.
That is fantastic. And yeah, I'm not going to get political because I try to avoid that. However, I was training for a marathon last year. And my daughter, she served an LDS mission. And so she got home and she's like, I have to go back. So it happened to be where I grew up, which is kind of weird that happened. So we went back to California, and while she was getting lost on this river, I was running. And so I decided to listen because this is right before all of the presidential election and stuff. So I was trying to listen to all 3 because I believe in giving everybody a fair chance and, researching. So I was listening to Robert Kennedy Jr., and I was listening to his concession speech before he ever conceded, because he didn't really. But I was listening, and he was talking about how there's like 1 in 4 or 1 in 6 kids nowadays are being diagnosed with autism. And like, don't quote me on that number, but it was ridiculous and outrageous. And then he started talking about this foods, and he started talking about all these health issues that we as Americans are having that other countries are not, because the foods that we allow and the things that we allow to be done to our foods, other countries do not. So I had this wake-up call because I started thinking, I have 6 kids, and my oldest, that whole all of those kids that my son grew up with all have some type of mental deficiency of any sort. And I'm like, what happened? And I'll just give you 2005. What happened in the South Jordan area that created such an issue with so many children? And so when it comes to the foods and when it comes to things, what have you found that is hurting our bodies?
That is a massive question. It's in a blanket statement. It's the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the disconnection from Mother Nature, our inability to ground. We need to stand on the earth, and we need to electronically ground to the earth. We have too much stress in our life. We have too much information coming at us, and we never disconnect and just listen. And then we've been propagandized. We've been programmed over decades. This is not a brand new thing. Right. And I think that what's happening is people are starting to, this is people in the West, because you need to realize that the majority of the people on the planet still turn to natural medicine and real food before they turn to pharmaceuticals. Most of the people on the planet. So we in the West have all these fancy machines. As far as like all these testing machines, we have all these drugs, and we have the worst food because everything is free. So everything is able to advertise to us. And I think what we need to do is we need to step outside of what everyone else is doing, and one at a time opt out. Start a garden. Live on this great street where we all exchange vegetables and stuff from our yards and our trees and gardens. So if that's such a massive question, I don't even know if that answered it for you.
No, I think it does. I think that that's the part is we're so used to just going to the grocery store and getting what we need. And then organic started to come, and I have to look at, okay, is organic really organic or is it not? And what do we do and how do we do it? And right before we started talking, I told you my daughter had been diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And so, I mean, we tried for 2 years. What can we do? How can we? And we have limited sugar intake, and she's not a big sugar person anyway. As I notice, sometimes she has these flare-ups, and other times it's like, what's causing these things? And can we heal ourselves from within with natural? We just found out we live in Utah, and the pioneers came to Utah and they walk the plains and they talk about all these different herbs and different remedies. And I'm sad because that really wasn't very long ago. 1840s was not very long ago. It seems like it is. I guess it is. But if you go to Europe, it's not. And you had this type of plant did this, and this type of plant did this, and that. Like, I don't know. I don't know what anything is. And that's what scares me is how do we learn, like the dandelions that are growing wild in my grass? I mean, that's an herb that you can use for things.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just kill them, right? And so how did you get into this? I know your dad did it, but how did you like decide to re-enter?
Yeah, so like I said, I was born into a family that's what my dad did. He grew up he was the second oldest of 7 kids, that he grew up in Pocatello, Idaho, and they had an electrical plumbing business. And of all his 7 kids, they all went to the business. My dad didn't. So he really geeked out over what made plants medicine for human beings. It was just something in his DNA. So we grew up with a great big garden. We grew up kind of out in the country. We lived on a big 1-acre plot of land out in a rural area. And we didn't go to the doctor and we didn't go out to eat. So my dad's friends were acupuncturists and naturopaths and chiropractors and iridologists and, all these people who did natural healing. These were my dad's friends. So they were the ones coming to our house for dinner and all the stuff. So of course, then when you become an adult, you kind of like, we all fell off the wagon. We all ate fast food and junk food and sugar and then we all kind of started having some minor health issues. I started having digestive issues and constipation and luckily I jumped back on the wagon pretty quickly because I'm like, oh, well, this isn't fun. So me and all my siblings, my youngest brother is now 42. So we're all adults, we're all middle-aged and older, and we've all really fully embraced our roots. So you are raised with this, and it gives you confidence in navigating when you have a medical issue. Because I think that's what I see with most people is that when they have a medical issue and they intuitively think, well, I want to start doing something natural or herbal or something, but they don't have the experience with it or the knowledge. And I think that the experience is more important than the knowledge because you can read about something, but then how do you trust it? That's the biggest thing I find. But then so let me just rewind. What happened is my dad passed away in 1998 and his business died with him because he had a really beautiful extraction technique. And he was really famous for his tinctures and he worked with some really famous people in herbal medicine realm. And when he passed away, his business died with him. And so I restarted it with another sister 4 years after he died, which was 23 years ago. And then my sister was like, oh, this is too much work. She backed out after 6 months. And I just wanted to restart my dad's company and I wanted to be happy because I'd been in corporate fitness for a while. And while I loved helping people get fit, I was really unhappy in the corporate world. So I just really wanted to be happy, carry on my dad's legacy. And now it's just blossomed into this beautiful thing that I find myself as a teacher. Now that I'm getting older, it's like, I'm 64 and I'm on no drugs. I've never done drugs and I'm not against pharmaceuticals. I think that they have their place. You can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Sometimes you need something for an acute issue while you're going, okay, what caused it?
Yeah.
So I find myself in a place where I get to educate people and empower people to be brave because people just aren't brave especially when it comes to your kids, right? Your kid has an ear infection and you hear about an herb that might take care of it, but you think, well, I don't really trust it because what if it doesn't work and then I've messed up my kid's hearing? It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Well, I think that's the debate right now, like CBD, not CBD. Like, I look at it differently, right? It's an herb and
Yes,
it
thank
comes
you.
from a plant, which, again, if you're religious, God gives plants down, like there's a reason. And but let me go take this other pill that happens to be highly addictive and that can do a whole lot of other things to you, some opioid. And so it's interesting how that's okay, that it's okay to take these opioids. And let me be honest, I had multiple surgeries for multiple years, like two for 3 years in a row, like shoulder, hip. And I was in a lot of pain for a long time. But for me, I think I'm grateful because those opioids put me on speed. So, like somebody else, where they put them to sleep or they enjoy it, I'm like, I can't sleep. So I don't enjoy taking those things because it does the opposite for me. It does not take away the pain. And so I'm grateful, but it's like, let's talk about the CBD that I can rub on my leg or my hip. Maybe that can work better. And so it's very interesting how pharmaceuticals, like there's this stigma about some things that really could be very beneficial. You do not look like you're 64 years old. So clearly what you're doing is working.
And
So
you know
what are
what?
some secrets?
Thank you. I mean, I practice what I preach. I find it really difficult to take advice or look at someone for what they're trying to represent in the world or help other people with
Yeah.
if they don't practice what they preach. And I discovered exercise I started teaching classes when I was 18. So I don't just take herbs because you
Mhm.
can't cover up bad health with a supplement routine. I'm a big believer in supplements. I have a ton, but I also work out every day. I sleep really well. I try to lower my stress. I try to disconnect from my technology. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. And I also have this really cool mantra because I believe our biology listens to our belief systems,
Mhm.
where it's like, I'm just going to keep getting younger and I'm going to age backwards. And that's my mantra.
I love
So
that.
there you go.
I love that. And mind is a powerful thing, I think.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So what are some of because I'm listening to you and somebody who has a whole bunch of kids. I mean, you grew up with a whole bunch, so you kind of know. And a mom who's running a business, who's taking care of kids, who has a household, how do you find the time to exercise to get the right amount of sleep? Because I used to live on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and truth,
Mhm.
I still sometimes do. And sometimes I feel like I feel better with less sleep. If I get 8 hours, I feel horrible. And so talk to us about that, but also talk to us how you juggled the mom with the health.
Yeah, well, I think it's priorities. Where our priorities are, we will make the time for it. And I believe that our health is usually the last for people until something goes sideways. If something happens, you get either a really scary diagnosis or you just start feeling like total crap. Most of the time, our health just takes a back burner. People will scroll through their social media or they'll just get sucked into YouTube videos for 15, 20, 30 minutes and they'll justify that as I'm relaxing, I deserve it, I've had a hard day, and I'm gonna catch up with my friends, I'm gonna see whose birthday. I've heard everything. But
Mhm.
you could take that 30 minutes and you could walk around your neighborhood, or you could put that into, turn on your YouTube and do a yoga video.
Yeah.
It's all out there. So I believe it's simply priorities. And when I was raising my kids, what I used to do is I used to go into a closet when my husband was there and I would sit and meditate for 5 minutes because I needed so if you just have to be dedicated and you have to not go, this is going to be the perfect situation for me to meditate and do yoga. I did exercise with my kids hanging off me. So you just have to do it. You just got to do it.
I love that. So,
Yeah.
what are some good plants that we should have at our house? Like, what are some things we should always have around, or some good herbs that we should have?
Well, the very first place for people to start is with their spices and the things that you can grow in your herb garden. Like cayenne pepper is a very simple, humble herb, and everyone knows about it. It's very, 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 very safe. The only time that you would say maybe don't do a lot of cayenne pepper is if you're on like a heavy dose of blood thinners, because cayenne pepper is a vasodilator. It's really good for your vascular system and your heart, your digestion, your metabolism, all those things. But it's also got some mild blood thinning properties. But other than that, I believe that this is something everyone can start with. And look at how many heart attacks and strokes happen. And cayenne pepper, from my perspective, and I'm not a doctor and I don't give medical advice, but from my perspective and my experience, that one herb can protect your heart as you walk through life. And if you don't like spicy food, I put mine in a little capsule. I powder it up and put it in a capsule. So cayenne, definitely. Turmeric, turmeric root, ginger, basil, thyme, rosemary. All of these are, like, rosemary is an antimicrobial. It's got antiviral properties. It's got antibacterial properties. It's really, really good for your health, and it's really, really delicious when you cook with it. So that is the place I tell people to start. Start growing your own stuff. Get a basil plant out of the grocery store and put it in your kitchen. Easy. Everybody can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. And what are some things you mentioned antiviral for the rosemary? So do you use it? Do you take a capsule or do you just cook with it, or both?
I don't take it in a capsule. I love cooking with rosemary. I have a rosemary plant. It's a perennial. You plant a rosemary plant and it'll come back every year, but I bring ours in the winter, and then we just can, cut off a piece and use it, with almost any savory dishes. Or there's actually recipes you can use. Like my husband, he only makes these really rarely because they're so decadent, but it's like, a browned butter and rosemary Rice Krispie treats.
Really?
Yeah, so you brown the butter and you get a rosemary sprig in it, and as you're browning the butter, you let the rosemary get into the butter as it's browning. Then you mix in the marshmallow. Like I said, we don't make these very often, but that's kind of a way to feel a little bit better about eating Rice Krispie treats. But so I cook with the rosemary.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
So as a business, tell us about, because you've been in business for 23 years, right? What have you struggled with? What have you excelled at? What do you wish you would have known earlier that you know now?
Since this wasn't my first business, I built a health club with one of my sisters prior. But I will tell you, I have learned some very different things in this business. I've learned that every business owner needs to know there's only one you. You're the only person who can do what you do. And I think what happens is we have this idea that we have to look at the people who are doing what we do and be like them. And if you just stay authentic to who you are, the people who are supposed to find you in your business will find you. I love that the internet is around from when it hasn't been around that long, but my dad never experienced the internet, and he's been gone 27 years, but I'm so grateful. I think anyone who's starting a business should know that, first of all, they need to stay authentic to who they are, and then learn all the tools, learn how to do a YouTube channel or a Rumble channel, learn about social media. There's so many tools. There's so much out there. I think you just need to be a constant lifelong learner. And that's where I'm lucky, because technology fascinates me. Like I think we need to be careful with AI, but I believe it can enhance. I believe that the benefits, and as human beings navigating this, that we can be strategic about it. So yeah, you just have to, if you're not interested, you need to find someone who's interested to help you with because the marketing piece and getting what your message and what you do out there is very important.
That is so true. And sometimes fast tracking it. So, like you said, if you know somebody that does it, and you don't have to bring someone on full time, you can just bring them on for that piece. Hey, I want you to do this for 5 hours a week. And you don't have to pay them benefits that way, but they specialize in this one thing. So instead of
Yeah,
an assistant that might be great at filing, but you don't need 40 hours of filing. So
exactly.
you outsource different things. That's great.
Yeah, well, in fact, there's we were talking about my nephew before we started recording. He wrote a really good book called Who, Not How.
Yeah.
And it talks about most entrepreneurs fall into the trap of how am I going to do this? And we think we have to do everything. And in the beginning, for a short while, you might have to. And then you start to realize that you can't do it all by yourself.
Mhm.
And rather than saying, how am I going to do this? Who can help me? And you're right. It doesn't have to be. I have a girl who does my video editing, and she's part-time. She video edits for other people. She lives in a different state. I've never met her in person, and she's brilliant.
Mhm.
So yeah,
No, that's really good.
yeah.
All right, our time is a little short, but my question for you as a mom,
Mhm.
do you have grandkids now, or do you?
I do. Yeah, they're 12 and 14. I just have two.
Oh,
I wish I had 20, but I have two.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost 50 and I don't even have, my kids aren't even married yet, so it's going to be a minute. But I want you to think back when you were, or even now, you're sitting on a park bench and this 9 month pregnant woman comes and sits next to you, and she's newly, like, this is her first time being a mom. And as you watch her and you listen, you reflect back on your whole life as a mother. What is some advice you would give her?
This is so typical of what we would say to begin with. You know, look when you look into your baby's eyes and look like for to me, they're so new from God and their consciousness is so high. And what I would say, and I really wish I'd have done this more, but if you think about what happens when your baby is born into the world, we have two big things. We have our intuition and we have our intellect. Okay. And then what happens as we grow? Because our intuition is so strong. You watch little kids run through the world and intuitively do things in the world and they spontaneously react to things. It's so beautiful to watch. But what we nurture in this modern world is our intellect. We will go to we send them to school when they're super young, and we have them read, and they plan for this college, and what happens here is here's the intellect that gets totally nurtured, and then as our kid becomes an adult, and they start maybe just for example, because I do what I do, they hear they want to start learning something about herbal medicine
Mhm.
to do an issue they're having, and their intuition goes, oh, that feels so good. But then their intellect is so strong that it will just it'll stamp out their intuition. And I think if I could have nurtured the intuition in my children as much as I did their intellect and teach them to trust their gut instinct, this is our direct connection to the divine, to God. This is the guiding system that we have, and our intuition will never lead us wrong. And it's like when you're driving somewhere and you go, you have two ways to go to get to the same place. You go, I kind of feel like I should go this way, but you're not sure why.
Yeah.
It's that. It's just that. And instead of saying, well, I don't know why I did this, it took me longer. Well, you might not ever know. So that's probably one of the biggest things I would say. I'm lucky I got to stay home with my kids. I drug them with me to the gym. I was teaching classes when they were little. So I'm so lucky. I think if you can stay at home with your kids, I know it's not possible for everyone,
Mhm.
but raise your own kids.
Yeah.
This is one of my biggest advice for if you're going to be a mother, raise your kids. Be the one.
You know, and I love to be the one because that's something that I am struggling with right now because I have four older kids. My youngest of the first four with the first husband, he's going to be leaving pretty soon. So I have like this little 10 and 12-year-old. And I remember I didn't have a choice. I had to work with those first. But then being able to stay home at a time where my kids were really struggling with things, like I needed to be there.
Yeah.
And now that I'm doing this entrepreneurial thing, my biggest pet peeve now is that I don't get to be home with them when they come home from school. And so now it's like, okay, so with my clients, it's like, okay, I will meet with you during these hours, but I have to be home by 3:30 now. And I think that that's something that is becoming, it never used to be important, I think, or a priority to me that, oh, my kids are okay, they'll be fine, or their older siblings are there. But for some reason, it's drawing me home again. And it's like, you know what? I just don't care. If I can make a lot of money like that, that's great, but it's not important to me right now. The thing is, they're so young and they're only young for so long. And so I agree with that.
Yeah. And the money and the abundance will come. It will, and you can't take, you can't, what are you going to do? You're going to eat your money?
Yeah.
And I think that I really do think that if you are able to make it work and make some sacrifices instead of having the great big house and the multiple cars, and they're like, why would you want to have children if someone else is raising them? And I do know there are way a lot of circumstances and nuances beyond that where people fit into different categories. But I do believe that why would you give birth to this incredible human being that you created and then not be the one to come home, when they come home from school and they're all excited, or maybe something kind of dramatic happened, or they just want to unload on you. I mean, I remember when I was, my mom had a lot of kids, and we, being second oldest, we'd come home from school and there'd be like 6 teenagers, and we'd all have things to say to my mom. And for her to be there every single day, it changes the way we walk through the world as adults. It's really, I love that you're doing that. It's really beautiful.
It's been hard because that's something where you've been in that crowd where everyone's money, 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 money. And I just, for some reason, for the last 3 years, I've really been fighting with myself with the intuition. And intuition, something like, again, I write about it, that your gut is directly linked to your heart, which is directly linked to your brain. Like it starts in your gut, then it goes. Yeah. So when you talk about the intuition to the brain and intellect, it starts. The intuition comes like the trust your gut. And it's been scientifically proven with the neurons and stuff. Like I said, it's in my intuition chapter. But it's amazing because for the last 3 years, I've really been fighting like, okay, this is what I know I need to do. But hey, this is what I want to do. And I finally have succumbed. Like, okay, there's a season for everything. There's a purpose for everything. And I can't see around the corner, but my Heavenly Father can. And it's time to start trusting. And so,
So have you ever heard of Bronnie Ware?
Mm-mm.
So she's a hospice nurse, and she wrote a book called The 5 Regrets of Dying People. For 30 years, she was a hospice nurse. The number one regret was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard.
Yeah. Because you can't take it with you, and nobody, like on your tombstone, such a great business person. Have you seen that? Like,
no, but forget that.
I love cemeteries, and I love them. I love to go through because stories of all these different people. And I don't think I can tell you one time on a tombstone it says great entrepreneur, great business person, great employee, great.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
But you know what I have seen? Mother. Father.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where our priorities need to start to align. And the people, our moms listening or dads, that what's important to you? What's the priority? And I can tell you the regret that I have. Again, there was a time where I didn't have that choice. I went from having to be the breadwinner because the ex wouldn't step up, then to being a single mom. But now my husband is able to provide. So I'm like, do I really need to kill myself all the time? For what? So I can put money in the bank?
Yeah, go love on your kids.
Yeah.
Love on your kids. Yeah. I like that. Sounds like you're doing great.
Well, so if our listeners wanted to find you, how would they do that?
So I have a little YouTube channel. It's at Barlow Herbal. And every Sunday I put out a Sunday message of love. So and then every Thursday I do I spotlight an herb, and I teach people about herbs too. And then my website is barlowherbal.com, and you can find me on social media under the same thing.
Thank you. And we barely touched on like the products that you have. So what type of products do you offer?
So my dad was really well known for tinctures. He had a really special tincturing technique. And a tincture is a liquid. Here's the tincture. This is a little homemade one, so it doesn't have the regular label on it. And then we do some capsules of some things that are important to go through the digestive process.
Mm-hmm.
And then we make some skin, we make some skin products, like we have homemade soap and lovely homemade skin serum, and we make all those by hand. So it's all really lovely, pure, medicinal. You know, there's a learning curve to the thing, most of the things we do, especially the tinctures, you know, because we have things that go after the big C word, we have things that go after viruses and cold and flu and allergies and Lyme disease and candida and parasites. So we have a lot, we have things that are not just, oh, here's echinacea, which is good. We have echinacea too. I love echinacea, but there's a learning curve to the things that we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I'm suffering from something, like what do you have any specialties where, hey, if you're struggling with this type of stuff, we really have a good product that helps with that? Do you have anything?
Yeah, so we have if you go to our website, just barlowherbal.com and put in catalog, we send you a hard copy if you live in the US on your first order, but it's like a 64, 68 page little booklet, but you can download a PDF of it just right from our website. And just put catalog in and it'll just bring it up. And it's not, there's no charge for it. It's just and it's informational and educational. So yes. And I think that start small, just start with one thing. It's like, okay, maybe I can't sleep or I'm, you know, so I need a little something natural for insomnia.
Okay.
Then, so start with something that you're super comfortable doing.
I love that. And my daughter never sleeps. So I'm actually going to go to your catalog and see that.
It's a good thing. You can make a meme out of that one. Sleep is a good thing. It is so true. And I think also disconnection from our technology is so important. If I could just say to that mom, don't give your kid any technology, iPads, iPhones, till they're way older. Let them have a real childhood. Right.
So I did that experiment for moms. Listen up, because I actually did that. So with I had twins. So my 12-year-old boy, he has some special needs. And so he got caught up. His grandparents gave him a phone because we didn't. And I so badly wish I would have been a better mom and taken it away. But I had no idea how much he was on it, actually. So because of his addiction, I would say, to always having to have the phone, my next son, who also had some special needs, he did not get an actual smartphone like this until he was 16 years old. It was one of those flip phones. So he was able to talk with us and he's like, Mom, I need the phone because I have to have it in class. They tell us to pull up our books, which I'm glad that finally the school system was realizing that was a huge mistake, that we didn't need to provide their textbooks on a phone. But it's interesting because he is a different person. Like he doesn't have that addiction like my first son had.
Yeah. Well, it changes it rewires their brain. And their brain is still growing, their brain is still developing, and it permanently rewires their brain. So.
Nope, it's true.
Yeah.
Now the watches, we gave them watches and so they don't get phones, but it's like, stop texting. So you can't win. It's a crazy thing that you and I never grew up with. So it's weird. I'm bored. Well, look out the window in the car. Can I have your phone? Nope. So.
Well, I think we're realizing that we all went this far too much. And now there's a generation that's raising kids because my son has, 12 and 14-year-old. And they're navigating that as well. So that's interesting.
It's a very tough thing. Well, thank you. I feel like we talked about a lot of different things.
I know. I hope this provides some value for your listeners for sure.
No, definitely. I think herbs, it's very important. And I like how you said start small.
Yeah.
Just plant one thing, go get a basil plant. And that's true. There's a few different things that we could get and use. Not only do they smell good, it's much better to have the natural, because we have mint, we have rosemary as well, but that you go pick it off and put it in versus a spice that's dried and sitting in your cupboard. Not that that's not a good thing, but.
Well, and then let me just say, if you have spices in your cupboard, their viability as far as the medicinal, what they'll provide for you health-wise, is about 6 months.
Are you?
Yeah. So it might still flavor your food. It's like a pepper in a pepper grinder. is better because you're grinding the peppercorns and you're releasing all of the nutrition. If you get pepper in your cupboard and it's ground pepper, it'll still flavor your food, but the medicinal properties, they oxidize and they go away. So you need to kind of relook at your spice cupboard and get your things in tiny, tiny batches as fresh as you can. If you've got them powdered, if you've got stuff you've had in your cupboard for 10 years, throw them away, because they're not going to give you any medicinal. Like I said, they might flavor your food, and that might be people like, oh, here's something to do. Tea. Do some tea, dandelion tea, holy basil tea, peppermint tea. Like, teas are really, really, really good. And they're great. And you can get teas fresh.
Let me ask. So the dandelions growing in my garden or my grass, are those safe to use, or is it a different type of dandelion?
There's several different types of dandelion, although there are a very common species, and the ones that grow in your yards are very common and they're very safe to eat. But here's the thing, because so many people spray their yard, and your neighbors might spray, unless you're growing or cultivating dandelions like in your backyard, or if your backyard has fences where all your neighbors have backyards too, and they're spraying, I would be very, very careful. Like, I have a big piece of property with a lot of, and I'm comfortable picking and eating the greens out of my yard. But so the leaves are highly, highly nutritious. The flowers and then the roots are really, really good. So if you feel good about where you're getting your dandelions, and you can pull it out of the root when the soil is kind of, if after it rains or something, wash the roots, go online. You can look up how to prepare dandelion root, and YouTube has a ton of great stuff, and they can just show you how to. And dandelion root is so good for your liver. It supports and detoxes and just nourishes your liver. I mean, dandelion is and the greens, oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. I love dandelions, and it's so hard to watch people spray in their dandelions when I drive by neighborhoods and stuff. Like, oh, don't do that.
That's good to know. And it's good for your liver. Is it good for anything else?
So the root is mostly really good for your liver, and the greens stimulate digestion, have good liver properties, and they help your gallbladder releases bile, which is so, so, so important when you're digesting fats. And dandelion greens are really good for that. Plus, they're full of enzymes, and you need enzymes in your food if you're going to help break it down and let your body benefit from the nutrition. And you don't have to add very much. You could get some salad greens and just get a few dandelion leaves and chop them up and add it in with salad, because they're bitter. They're a little bit bitter, but they're delicious.
Well, thank you. See, it's a wealth of knowledge. That alone was worth.
Yes, just make sure.
A ton of other stuff.
Yeah, careful where you forage for anything you pick to eat. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Well, thank you again for being on. I appreciate it.
Sure. Obviously, we could talk for a long time, right?
I know. I'm like, oh, we got to stop. Well, Jane, thank you so much. And moms, I always say this, but give yourself grace and know that you are here for a reason, and you're the mother of your children for a reason. And so only you can do what you feel best, and listen to your intuition and start going a little more green and natural, because those properties are very, very good for us. Go out and make it a great day. And if you feel like this is important, please share it, like it, subscribe. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.